الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه وسلم. MashaAllah. I'm not even sure. Oh, okay. I don't think we got this far. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to kind of go over what we already went over, like usual, but continue from there. Okay, so we stopped here. Like we did this part, but I reviewed a lesson of one of the other brothers, and I thought I should expand a little bit more in mine. So the author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, or to say, may the dam of Allah be upon every religious scholar, intending comprehensiveness. However, if one did not intend to include all the religious scholars, but he meant specific scholars because of what he believed of their corrupt condition, and this statement was said within a context which indicates that intended meaning, then one would not become a kafir, although the utterance of such statement is not sinless. So, yani, one shouldn't be cursing scholars. Period. Let's go there. Okay, like, but if you cursed a particular group of scholars and your statement was made clear, like let's say it was like example. I can give you an example. Um, let's say uh, we were talking about history. So because Iran is in the news now, this goes perfect right here. Uh, at one time, Iran was originally a Sunni nation. It was a Sunni country, right? So, but now it's a Shia country, right? So people wonder. So you, in the midst of learning, you might come to find out that there was a group of uh, Shafi'is and a group of Hanafis who got into a dispute. And it was a dispute over worldly matters, but they got to arguing with each other and it caused a division. And because of their dispute, the Shiites were able to take advantage. And for 400 years since, it's been uh, a Shia country. Okay, so you might say because these were ulama, so these both Hanafi and Shafi'i, you know, we're Shafi'is, right? Um, you might say curse all those scholars who caused that, right? So you made a statement where this was specified because because of their disputing over a worldly matter, they and not able not able to reconcile. The whole country is suffering to this day, whereas it's a Shia majority country. Uh, Now they're being attacked, but man, a lost system because the attack is not just. And just for the record, I'm not sure if I had this conversation with you before, but our Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he said about the Shia that their ulama are kufar and their lay people are sinful. So knowing that context, uh, one still would not root for the uh, government against them. And even okay, the so this means their scholars like their Ayatollah or Kufar, right? Uh, and if their Ayatollah are doing injustice on them, they may be doing injustice on them. But what America is doing against the Iran is worse than what the Ayatollah were doing. So we would never uh, root for what Yahudi and Americans are doing. Mm. I didn't even mean to. I swear I didn't pre-plan that. That's just the way it fell in. It's weird. I guess because I'm watching the stuff, that's why I fell in like that. Anyway, though, so the explanation, saying, may the dam of Allah be upon every religious scholar, is kufr because its meaning is comprehensiveness, i.e., generalizing to all religious scholars. However, if one did not intend to include all the religious scholars, but he meant the scholars of his time or the scholars of the area he lives or in a particular group of or lives in or a particular group of Muslims because he believes their condition is corrupt and his statement was said within a context which indicates that intended meaning, then he would not become a kafir. This is like if he said, may Allah's dam be upon every religious scholar in this time. So, like I was saying with that, if person may Allah, if person said, may Allah's dam be upon those Shafi'is and Hanafis who uh, disputed with each other like that. Uh, because he believes the condition is corrupt, even though his utterance of such statement is not sinless. Okay, so it's not sinless because, yani, in reality, the ulama are usually the best. Okay, so in this particular instance, these scholars that we're talking about, they they had this shortcoming, but what about all the good coming that they had? The fulfillment that they did. Didn't they preserve the knowledge and pass it? Like, yeah, a large percentage of their students ended up being forced to become Shia or killed or whatever and so forth because of their dispute. But there's percentage of the students that got out, and some of that knowledge reached us most likely. So they did good, uh, and it's better to seek forgiveness for your sinful brothers that passed away rather than to curse them, because as long as they're on Islam, they're Muslims. So why do you want to curse them? Okay, so it says, so the one who says, may the dam of Allah be upon every religious scholar within a context which indicates that he did not intend generalizing all religious scholars, such as if he or another person mentioned the issue of corrupt scholars of a certain area, and then following that, he say, may the dam of Allah be upon every scholar while intending the said scholars, then his words are taken to mean every scholar who falls under that type, and so he does not become a kafir. However, he said this statement, and there was no context which indicates that he did not intend generalizing to all religious scholars, then he becomes a kafir. And his intention by itself in that case does not save him from falling into kufr. The one who does not deem him as a kafir in that situation blasphemes himself. Okay, so all of that we read last time, and I put a little bit of twist on it, but now I want to add some more context to it because that statement, that's one aspect of a statement. There's another aspect of it, like as if and you might hear women say this, right? They'll be like, all men are dogs, right? That's what they say. A woman that says that commits blasphemy. Likewise, for a man to disrespect all women, okay? So if a man was to say, all women ain't such and such, whatever, right? Yani, Allah bore witness that Maryam is the best of the women on earth. You just contradicted it. Like you included Maryam in that. Likewise, if a woman says all men are dogs or she curses all men, she just cursed all the prophets of Allah because all the prophets of Allah were men. So that's the context I wanted to bring back that I should have mentioned in the last lesson is we have to be careful. Like and even men may say this too. Like they say there's some people that will say dogs are better than people. because the dogs is loyal, something like this they say, right? And and a dog is better than a prophet, la. A dog is better than a wali, la. Okay, so it's not more loyal than a prophet or a wali neither. So uh, this is what I wanted to add into that context to get to you. Any questions?
No.
Okay. The author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, or to say, I do not acknowledge Allah, the angels, the prophet, or the Islamic law, or Islam. The explanation. The one who says these statements becomes a kafir even if he did not intend the meaning, and even if he was in a state of anger, because anger is not an excuse, as was previously mentioned. However, the one who says, I do not acknowledge the Nabi, if he means, I meant the, if, sorry, if he says, I meant the elevated land, I did not mean our Prophet, Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he does not become a kafir if he was truthful in his saying. Okay, so the term Nabi in Arabic is usually meant is usually used for a prophet. Okay, so we call the prophets Nabi, plural Anbiya. Okay, but like in general, if someone say this is like if someone said Salah al Nabi is not good. Okay, it depends on what he means by that statement because Nabi usually means prophet. So if he's saying Salah al Nabi, meaning the prophet, saying Salah on the prophet is not good. If he says this, he blasphemed because the religion ordered us to do this. It's mentioned in the Quran. However, if the word Nabi also has the meaning of an elevated land, like an uneven land. So uh, if he meant that when he said the statement, Salah ala Nabi is not good, he meant that on the un, on the elevated, uneven land, it's not good to pray. He has no problem with that because that's truthful in a statement. So it depends on what he means by that. But this is a truthful statement in the language. So what I'm meaning is because both meanings exist in the Arabic language, there's no problem with that. Okay. I guess like a similar statement would if he said, uh, like in English, even though they're spelt different, they're pronounced the same, right? So, which is prophet. There's prophet like the prophet that is sent forth, and there's prophet like the prophet that you earn from making a living, right? So, like if you uh, invested capital and you was like the profit wasn't good, so you were talking about the profit from what you invested in the business wasn't good, then this is not haram. But if you said the prophet wasn't good, you meant yani the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or any of the prophets alayhi salam, then this is kufr. So it's like that. So if the language actually accepts that, then there's no issue. But you can't go making up a meaning for a word. Like this is a thing some people would do. They would say something that's explicitly blasphemous. And somewhere along in this chapter we get into that, I believe. And if not, then we'll expand on that at a later time. But you have what's called an explicit blasphemous statement and an implicit blasphemous statement, or not an implicit blasphemous, explicit blasphemous statement and a possible blasphemous statement, right? So the explicit is when it doesn't carry any other meaning, okay? And the possible is when your expression could be blasphemous. It depends on what you meant by it, okay? So the person would say an explicit blasphemous statement, and he knows that meaning of that statement has no other meaning in the language, and he said that meaning, and he only meant that meaning. But then when you ask him, he comes up with something else, right? This no, this doesn't work. So if the language originally accepts that, and you're using it in the context of the language, and that possible blasphemous meaning was not what you meant, and you meant something that the language accepts, and you use the expressions in the way that the language accepts, then we don't judge you as a blasphemer. Like the apparent, that's the word. I was saying possible, apparent blasphemy, right? Okay, so it appears like blasphemy, but upon checking, you tell us a meaning that is appropriate in the language. There's no judgment of blasphemy on the person. But if the person uh, makes up his own meaning, then this is not acceptable. It says the term Sharia means the Islamic law. It is the rules that came through revelation. As for the religion, it is the belief, and the religion of the prophets is the same, which is Islam. Okay. Okay, because they had up here, or the Islamic law or Islam. Okay. So to explain that a little bit more, Yani, all the prophets were sent with Islam. All the prophets were sent teaching La ilaha illallah Muhammad, well, teaching La ilaha illallah, and then whatever prophet it was the messenger of Allah, and they foretold the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but not necessarily always explicitly. But um, they all taught that there's no God but Allah, and in teaching that there's no God but Allah, they taught that God is unlike the creations in any way whatsoever. They taught that God is one without a partner. They taught that God exists independent of the creation, has no need of the creations. They taught that God has power over all the creations, that God sees all of the creations and hears all of the creations and knows about all of the creations. Uh, they taught that God is not subject to the creation, that He is the only creator. Okay, all of that yani, was in their teachings. That He has will over everything. He has power over everything. Yani, that He speaks, and that His speech is unlike the speech of the creations. So they taught all of that. Okay, basically, I summarily mentioned the 13 attributes. They taught those 13 attributes, right? Okay. Um, but they may have came with a different law, a different Sharia. Okay. So Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, he had in his Sharia that one of his children was able to marry another one of his children, okay, but from different deliveries. So the brother could marry his sister that wasn't his twin, basically. That was permissible in the law of Adam, and that was made permissible as the way for humans could spread. Because Allah could have spread the humans by another way by making a bunch of first humans and having them do, but He didn't do that. Okay, he made us all come from Adam and his wife Hawa, and that's how the spreading happened. Now, later on, Sheath was sent, and in the law of Sheath, this was abrogated, and then a brother could not marry his sister, even if they were from different deliverers. Uh, that was the law of Adam, and there's different rules for different prophets, like and the Sharia before and Nabi Isa's Sharia, there was 2 salats a day, right? But in our Sharia, there's 5 salats a day. So like this, there's different rules in different Sharia. Uh, like in the Sharia of Yaqub, he can marry 2 sisters, and he did. And that's Bani Israel is from 2 sisters and 2 uh like slave women. They're the children of 4 women. The 12 tribes are the children of 4 women, and 2 of them were sisters. And he married the sisters at the same time. Okay. But in the law of Musa, alayhi salam, that was abrogated. And that's not permissible in our law neither. You can't marry two sisters at the same time. You can marry them like in the way Uthman alayhi salam. Uthman radiallahu anhu, he was married to one daughter of the Prophet, and then she died, and then he married the sister of that daughter. So another daughter of the Prophet. Okay, I don't remember whether it was Ruqayya was the first one or Kulthum was the second one or the other way around, but I think it was the way I said it though. I think it was Ruqayya was the first one. So Uthman was married to one sister, and then she died, and then the Prophet married her to another, married him to another sister, and this is permissible. But to be married to two sisters at the same time is unlawful. There's other differences within the Sharia, right? So that's what it was mentioning there. Okay, the author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, or to say, I do not know the judgment, while ridiculing the judgment revealed to Allah. The explanation. The one who says in response to an Islamic judge, for example, issuing an Islamic ruling pertaining to him, I do not know the judgment, while the intention is to ridicule the judgment revealed by Allah, and that he does not regard this ruling, such a person is a kafir, i.e., an apostate. So, this is the case of the person who believes that ruling, that fatwa that's being expressed to him, is really from the religion. So he believes this is really from the religion. It's being expressed to him. He's saying, I don't know about all that. Like, pulls one of those. I don't know about all that. And in the meaning is he not going for it. Like, he don't accept that. This would be him belittling the religion, and by that he will commit kufr. But if he thought the person was mistaken, okay, he think that this person is not really conveying to him the Sharia, like this person's making it up or he's been taught wrong, and so that's the reason why he rejected, then the person will not fall into kufr. That even though the law, the person is conveying is truthful, okay, he has to believe that he's acquiring the correct knowledge in that case. So basically, he would be knowingly rejecting something from the Sharia. That's what just makes it kufr. The author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, or to mention a verse from the Quran with the intention of belittling its meaning, like to say, after one has filled a cup. The explanation. The one who says after filling a cup with a drink, with the intent of belittling or imputing falsehood to the promise that Allah made to the faithful that when they are in paradise, they will have a glass filled with a pleasant drink, becomes a kafir. So that's the meaning of that. Is in the Quran. That's in Surah An-Naba, verse 34. So if he's trying to belittle that, then yeah, he would fall into kufr. This is the meaning of what kasandihaka is, a cup filled to the brim with the drinks of paradise. So this is one of the rewards that we were promised in the Quran, out of the enjoyments that we will have in paradise. May Allah make us amongst those. The author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, or to say, فَكَانَتْ سِرَابًا, after one has emptied a drink. The explanation. The one who empties a drink by pouring it out of a container, for example, and into another one and says, فَكَانَتْ سِرَابًا, with the purpose of belittling the verse, becomes undoubtedly a kafir. This verse refers to mountains that will vanish on Judgment Day as if it were a mirage. It means they pass by very swiftly as the mirage when one comes closer to it. It appears farther away. So if a person mentions this verse after emptying a drink, and he means by that what happens on the day of judgment has no regard, becomes a kafir. And uh that's also from Surah An-Naba, it's verse 20. And then it says, the author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, or to say upon weighing or measuring, وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ. The explanation, the one who says upon weighing or measuring something, وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ, out of belittling the meaning of the verse, becomes a kafir. This verse dispraises those who cheat in measuring and weighing by giving less. So like mashallah, like you have that verse is from Surah Al-Mutaffifin, verse 3, right? And that surah is talking about, basically they usually translate Al-Mutaffifin as the defrauders. So this is like people sell by weight or by length or by volume, right? Like example, if you go buy cloth, they sell the cloth uh like $2.25 per yard or something like this. That's probably expensive. I don't know. But let's say that, right? So the person who is selling, this person, when he's selling, let's say you want to buy 5 yards, right? He would sell you 4.93 yards for the price of the 5 yards, right? But if it was the other way around, he will make sure that he gets his full measure, right? This is what the uh, surah is talking about. People like this, so they give short when it's their turn to sell, but when they're buying, they make sure they get their right or more. Okay, and this is haram. Rather, when you make an agreement in a sale, both sides supposed to get what they agreed upon. Uh, where we at now? We're gonna go a little bit longer. It says this verse refers to Judgment Day when the people will be assembled without any of them being left out. Oh no, I didn't get that. Okay, the author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, or to say when seeing a crowd. Can't see that well. وحشناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا. The explanation, the one who says upon seeing a crowd of people, وحشناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا, with the purpose of belittling the verse, becomes a kafir. This verse refers to Judgment Day when the people will be assembled without any of them being left out. And that's from Surah Al-Kahf, verse 47. If you review the lessons from Dawrah, you might remember that. And if you didn't, I hope you do soon. The author, may Allah have mercy on him, says, similarly, is any occasion where a person quotes the verses of the Quran with that intent, one becomes a kafir. However, if quoting is not done with that intention, one does not become a kafir. Nevertheless, Sheikh Ahmed ibn Hajar al-Haytami, rahimahullah, said this is not far from being prohibited. So, let me read the explanation. Then I'll do. The explanation, Sheikh Ahmed ibn Hajar al-Haytami states that quoting the verses in the above scenarios, even if not with the intention of belittlement, is not far from being prohibited. i.e., it is sinful, because that constitutes lack of proper etiquette with the Quran. However, if it is done with the intention of belittlement, then it is kufr. So basically, what the Sheikh is saying, this was a historical figure. Maybe one day we will go over his biography, Allahu Alam. But he was saying that, like, just quoting the ayats out of context. So you quoted it out of context, but you wasn't trying to belittle it. Okay, you just recited this ayat out of context. This is something disliked or haram. Okay, but when one does it out of context with the intention of making fun of the verse, belittling the verse, this is when one falls into kufr. Okay, but proper reverence for the Quran would keep one from even quoting it out of context like that. MashaAllah, there's a story. In some cases, it ends up in uh, Sunni circles, right? But it's of Shia origin. We were speaking about Shia earlier. Now we're back on it. uh, there's a woman they call her name Fidda, which one of the brothers. It was funny. He mentioned this story to me, and then I was telling him it's not a true story. But I saw this story long time ago, and in that story they say like she was uh, a slave woman who used to serve Ahl Bayt. So they make her lifespan like as if she lived from the time of Ali and Fatima all the way into Jafar as-Sadiq, which would have been an extremely long time because Jafar as-Sadiq was like uh Jafar as-Sadiq was like born in 80 Hijra, if I'm correct, or 78 Hijra, something like this. So uh and like past that it seems like but anyway, they would say that she did nothing but answer with the Quran. This is what it says. Like, so if you say hello to her, she will say something from the Quran. Like, you know, she'll always recite an ayat, no matter what. You'd be like, "How you doing?" She's gonna recite something from the ayat. You say, "Can you go to the store for me?" She's gonna recite an ayat. That's how they have it. Like she memorized the Quran and she always answered with the Quran. She never said anything else. This is not a true story. Okay, this is something the Shias made up, and then they put it in their books, and then they try to even spread it to us. Be careful. Uh, let's see. The author, may Allah have mercy on him, said, "Likewise, the one who cusses a prophet or an angel falls into kufr. Or if one says, 'I would be a pimp if I were to perform a prayer,' or says, 'Nothing good has happened to me since I started praying,' or says, 'Prayer is not proper for me,' with the purpose of derision." The explanation: the one who cusses a prophet or an angel falls into kufr, and there's no difference in this case whether the angel that one cursed is Jibril or Azrael or other than these two. So, Mr. Uwais, okay, you know who Jibril is, right? How about Azrael? Azrael is the Malak al Maut, the angel of death. Okay, so some people, due to their ignorance, when a beloved person of theirs died, they would curse Azrael. This is kufr. Azrael is doing his job. He doesn't decide when to take the souls. He goes and takes the souls when he's ordered to take the souls. When we experience death, we're supposed to be patient. Okay? Uh, and if the person was a believer, then we will see them on, and we die as believers, then on their judgment, we will see them and we'll be united and we'll be happy in the end of it. Okay? But If the person was blasphemer, then you've been relieved, just like the earth has been relieved. You might hurt because they died in blasphemy, but Allah knows best the situation. So we don't curse the angels, and the Yahud used to do this about different angels. Matter of fact, they cursed Jibril alayhi salam because Jibril alayhi salam is the angel of revelation. And you know what else he's the angel of?
No.
Punishment. So if Allah sends a punishment on the people, Jibril inflicts it. So when Allah destroyed the Sodom and Gomorrah, now uh, this is what they call it in English. I don't remember exactly how to call it in Arabic. It's like Sadum and something. Uh, so this is the land that Prophet Lut alayhi salam was sent to, right? Lut was the one who was sent against the original homosexuals. Okay, so when Allah destroyed them because they were kuffar and they were doing the homosexual acts, and they basically were raping men that came into their town. Uh, Jibril was the one who was sent against them. We'll talk about that story more at another time. So cursing any of the angels, but that's not what they didn't curse him over that particular story. They said that Jibril was an enemy of this because he had caused punishment to fall upon them. Uh, it's in a hadith when they asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, who comes to you, and he said that Jibril is the one who comes to him. They said this is our enemy amongst the angels, and the Prophet corrected them, and there was an ayat revealed that says whoever takes as an enemy Jibril or Mikhail or any of the malaika, they fall the enemies of Allah, i.e. the kuffar. That's the basic meaning of it. I'm paraphrasing. It says the same judgment applies to the one who says, I will be a pimp if I were to perform a prayer. For this statement mocks prayer, it demeans it, and this is why he falls into kufr. Uh, says the pimp is a person who brings customers to fornicators. Likewise is the case. Okay, wait, let's go over that a little bit. Okay, so now these days people use the term pimp in a complimentary way, but in reality, it is a despicable practice. Okay, so to bring uh it's like yani like you're a salesperson for someone that's selling their box, as they would say, or a woman that's selling her self to do fornication with people. She gets paid to do fornication with people. The person who manages her affairs is called a pimp. Okay, and people look at it like this thing of like so. Even like I might walk in a store and somebody will say, "What's up, pimp?" And they don't consider that they're insulting me. They think that they're complimenting me, and maybe they might say it to you, "What's up, little pimp?" This is the decadence of our society that this is the case. It's actually an insult. You shouldn't want to be called this. I'm not saying start a fight with someone that calls you this, but uh, like don't accept it as a thing. Like when you can, try to correct the person. Like I'm not a pimp. I'm cool though. Something like that. Uh, it says likewise is the case of the one who says nothing good has happened to me since I started praying, because such a statement belittles prayer. And similar to that is the saying of some lay people: fast and pray, and you will be hit with scarcity. So, like, as if they're blaming their being religious for afflictions. This is what they're talking about. If the person is like, uh, oh, you pray, that's why you don't make no money, stuff like this, like, It's weird, but people have these type of expressions going on. It says, likewise is the case of the one who says, prayer is not proper for me with the purpose of derision, i.e., if one intended by it to mock the prayer, and this is usually the case of the one who says this statement. Okay, so someone is saying the prayer is not proper for me. They're trying to mock the prayer. This would be kufr. Okay. It says, however, if a menstruating woman said prayer is not proper for me, and she meant by it that the prayer is not valid for her during her period, then she does not fall into kufr because her statement is truthful. Like it's not permissible for a woman to pray when she's on her menses. It also says, likewise, if a person inflicted with incontinence of urine says that out of ignorance about the rules of incontinence, thinking that according to the rules of the religion, he does not pray until he no longer has incontinence of urine, then we do not deem him as a kafir. So, do you know what incontinence of urine is?
What? Incontinence of hearing?
Yes.
No. Like where you can't hear, is that it?
Huh?
Is it where you can't hear? Or like you can't like distinguish what you hear?
You can't what?
Distinguish what you hear, like what's the word?
Oh, you think I said hearing?
Yeah.
No, no, I didn't say hearing. I said incontinence of urine.
Oh no, I don't know that.
Okay. Yeah, urine, incontinence of urine is when a person cannot stop himself from urinating on himself. Like it keeps dripping out consistently. Okay. So if a person is inflicted with that, they may think like this person didn't learn. Okay, they didn't go through the obligatory knowledge like we're going through, or if they went through the obligatory knowledge, they didn't get to the part yet. Well, so they're going through the obligatory knowledge, right? They didn't get to the part yet where they would learn what to do if a person is inflicted with this. Okay, they would think, well, there's no way I could be pure. Okay, because every time I make wudu, I'm still dripping urine on myself, so I'm najis. So I can't pray because you can't pray while you have najis on your body. So they say the prayer is not proper for me. That's what they say. This person would not commit kufr because they're mistaken. They're thinking that the prayer is not proper for them because they have najasa on them. But there is a thing to do for the person that's in this situation. May Allah protect us from ever being in a situation. Bi'idhnillah. Okay, we're gonna stop here. We're now on page 77. We're almost done. Maybe one or two more lessons. We're done with the regular part of the book of apostasy. And then we get to talking about the rules of apostasy, the rules that apply to the apostate. So we're very close to finishing this section, mashallah. Any questions? Okay. So from there, we will complete the lesson. يحلي لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه وسلم رب اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات رب اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات رب اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات. Ah, they changed the spot where you put the end stream. I was gonna be try to end the stream, couldn't find it.